week. Without no regret, you got no love. Without no love, you got no regret. Without no regret, you got no...
Hello guys and welcome back to another Premier League Game Week review. Today I'm with Alice. How are you?
I'm doing good, thanks. You?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I'm glad to hear that you're good. We're just going to be reviewing another Premier League Game Week and another Premier League Game Week. More stress for United and United fans. Now, we'll get into it first because it was the first game of the weekend. Obviously, I'm a season ticket holder and I do normally go to games. However, as I've just told you, I couldn't go to the game as I had COVID.
Yeah.
And my opinions on the game differed from a lot of people, I noticed. I thought we played quite well for around 75 minutes rather than just the first 45. Obviously, coming out in the second half, which wasn't great. And then I thought we improved after that. However, a lot of people seem to think we didn't improve. Well, we just sort of got worse after the first half, which we did get worse. But I thought we sort of played well. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't think we played bad. It's one of those where, like, I don't look at Ralph Rangnick and go, as we sort of said earlier, we didn't take our chances. I think the first half we were better than the second half. I think especially the sort of first 20 minutes of the first half. And we did let them grow into it in the second half. They did have more possession. But I think when you actually look at it, I know Ralph Rangnick made a comment about XG. Look at the XG, look at the chances we had compared to them. We did have the better chances, and I think it's one of those games where I could see why it ends a draw because Southampton did have some chances, but we were good. And I think if Ronaldo put away that chance in the first half and Maguire put away one of those set pieces, we would have won 2-1. I wasn't angry with the performance. I was just frustrated that we dropped points again. But
yeah, that's exactly the same with me. I was frustrated with it. We dropped points and we've got to start winning games because other teams around us are dropping points. And if we do start winning games, I feel there's a huge chance for us to get top four, which is currently our aim. Yeah. And it's not great that that's our aim, but that is our aim right now. And it's not looking good for sort of leaks coming out around United as well. I've seen there's a lot of news around United, and I've sort of spoken to a lot of people about this, and I was only young during the Sir Alex Ferguson days, obviously, but I know a lot about it, and nothing came in and nothing went out. So I'll give an example of the David Beckham situation with England when fans were sort of sending David Beckham abuse and personal abuse and things like that. Sir Alex Ferguson let nothing in and nothing out via the press. And it seems to be the complete opposite nowadays where everything's coming in and everything's coming out as well. And it's just not great. What is your thoughts? Do you think we need to stamp that out as soon as possible, or it's not really possible with the modern day football?
It's a frustrating one. I think with social media, it makes that kind of stuff easy. But I think, we've let the player power is an issue in this club. We don't know if all the leaks are true or not because, things they can obviously be twisted. But I think there was a situation where Ragnick said Martial didn't want to play. He went on social media and said elsewise. Same with Lingard. Well, that's clearly a communication issue. They should deal with that off the pitch, not on social media. I think those kind of things need to be nipped in the bud, and I think they will be. But I think there's an issue a little bit with player power, and I think, maybe Ollie was too nice for so many years, protected too many things, and the players think they could sort of walk over it, but we need to deal with it better because, their social media is a thing, but you don't see many of these stories come about Chelsea and Man City and Liverpool. It is United. Things will come out, but not to the level that they're coming out. Yeah.
No, yeah, I completely agree with you. The performances from certain players, I would argue as a team, we're definitely performing better than we were, let's say, 2 months ago. But from certain players, someone who I love very much, Marcus Rashford, he's not performing very well at all, despite getting the assist. Even Cristiano Ronaldo, just not performing very well at all. And to me, it shows that age waits for sort of no man, and it's sort of catching up to him. And that's sad to see because we've seen 15, 20 years of excellence from Cristiano Ronaldo at this point. So do you think it would be a better idea to get rid of him in the summer or keep him until his contract ends?
The situation is, we don't have any strikers really at the moment because Cavani's going. We don't know what Martial's going to do. Is he going to be good at Sevilla? Is the next manager going to want him? And then obviously Greenwood is out for maybe forever. We don't know. So it's we've only got Ronaldo. And it's like, if we can replace Ronaldo, then brilliant, I guess. Like, if you can get a young striker in that can, I guess, replace Ronaldo, brilliant. But I don't trust the Glazers to almost buy the right player, and you don't know if the player's going to work. If it's Haaland, albeit, but that's not going to happen. Like, we're not going to get Haaland. So for me, I think even if Ronaldo stays or goes, we do need to get another striker in. But if we don't have Cavani, we don't have Martial, then I think, we need Ronaldo and another striker. If Martial stays, I think you can afford to get rid of Ronaldo and bring in another striker.
Yeah, I agree with you. I completely agree. I would personally bring in someone like a Jonathan David, or we were very briefly linked with him, and it's a very outside the box option. But Michail Antonio, I really I know he's aging, but I sort of admire him as a player.
Yeah, could be a good sort of bench or depth player, because our bench at the moment is dry.
Yeah, we've got no squad depth at all. We've got like Jesse Lingard coming off the bench, and he's obviously not in the best form at all, and hasn't been for quite a long time now. And we were linked with Julian Alvarez, as TA says here. Now, I didn't know much about Julian Alvarez. I've seen a lot of clips of him. What was your thoughts on them links? Was it just brief links?
Yeah, we were linked to him quite a bit, and Ralph Rangnick obviously wanted him, and I thought, well, if Ralph Rangnick wants him, and Ralph Rangnick's sort of known for wanting Haaland, Mane, Firmino, Werner, all these good players at a young age, I was like, this could be another hidden gem. I was like, at 17 million, similar price to Daniel James. I didn't think it was much of a risk. I thought, plays on the wing, two-footed, can also play as a striker. Right now, he'd be brilliant because we need someone like that. But and he's gone to City, and I think he's one of those where we might go, oh, thank God we didn't get him, or we might be kicking ourselves for it. But I would have liked him. I actually quite like the sound of him, and I thought he's definitely one for the future, with Cavani and Ronaldo being very old.
Especially with City now getting him as well. He looks like he's going to be one for the future, and it's not great for us at City getting him. Well, one manager who I think City could get when Pep Guardiola leaves is Erik ten Hag, and obviously we've been strongly linked with him. Yeah. Would he be your preferred choice?
I think yes. This is the thing. The thing is, we've got problems with maybe some player egos. We've got issues higher up with the board at United, and every manager since Sir Alex Ferguson has failed. But I think all the managers since Sir Alex Ferguson haven't been bad managers at all, and it's because the board don't work with the manager. And at Ajax, maybe one of the reasons Ten Hag's been so successful is because of the board, and that is my fear. I go with Poch. I know, I guess he's not as nice to watch play, and he hasn't been as good at PSG, but I also go, Poch knows how to work with Daniel Levy, in the Premier League, whereas Ten Hag's not had to work with a complicated board. But then I'm very much willing to take the risk on Ten Hag, because I just think with Poch, I feel like we know what we're getting. I think he's a top 4 manager. I think he's a decent manager, but I can't see him lifting us a Premier League. Whereas Ten Hag, he could be the next Pep, but still with this board, you don't know what will happen with them.
No, yeah, you don't know what will happen with either of them. All I'm hoping is, and I've got sort of blind positivity right now, where it's like, hopefully John Murtough and Darren Fletcher and the likes behind the scenes can do something, despite the Glazers robbing us of everything that we have at the moment. Hopefully they can do something, just like the summer that we last had, every year basically. Other things have to change as well, like the stadium has to improve, and they are working on stadium improvement and things like that, which things like that have to change, but obviously on the pitch has to be focused on first. Now, we'll move into a Man United player who I've doubted a lot that made his debut and had a masterclass against Leeds, Donny van de Beek. Now, it was great to see him have a masterclass against Leeds. Yeah. It was honestly great to see, and him smiling and things like that. But what is your thoughts? Do you think he's just going to go to Everton on a permanent basis after this season, or do you think he can come and prove everyone wrong?
It's a tough one, because Lingard did brilliant at West Ham, came back, never got played, and I worry that could be something with Donny. However, I go Pogba leaving. I don't think Matic is going to stay. We'll get a midfielder, but we'll still have a midfielder, McTominay, Fred. We still need another midfielder, and I think he's more likely to stay. I think if we get Ten Hag, he'll definitely stay. Poch had spoke about how good Donny was as well, so I think we could really see Donny be used next season. I'd like to see Donny be used next season, because I think he's not a CDM, but he just has a little bit of that creative spark, I think. Yeah. that we
Yeah,
kind of
I completely
miss.
agree. I completely agree. I personally like McTominay and Fred a lot, but not the actual partnership, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I
I'm the
like the
same.
individual players. Exactly. And we know they're both individually good players, but they're both not holding midfielders, nor good enough to win us a Premier League title, probably. Now, I think Donny van de Beek, there's that exciting sort of thing in my mind where you think he could do something special and be part of something special, just like he nearly was at Ajax. Obviously, Ajax just couldn't get over that line versus Spurs in that year, and there's a lot of hope that I think he could be something special. And TA says he played in the pivot, and most United fans said he can't play there. Have you always thought he could play in the pivot, or have you doubted that? Because I've doubted that a lot personally.
I think he is a box to box, if I'm being honest. But I think he'd be better in the pivot than the 10 role, because Scott's a box to box, Fred's a box to box in my eye. Scott McTominay could turn into a 6 under Redknapp, we're sort of seeing it, and they played in the pivot. And I think when you remember the Watford game when we lost 4-1, and I think Donny came on for McTominay, I believe, at half time, straight swap, and
Yeah, I
he
remember
was
that. Yeah.
playing in the pivot, and he was just a level ahead of him. And I was like, brilliant. But when Donny's come on in Bruno's position, it's been a bit meh. I actually think he's better in that deeper role. I just think he needs almost a CDM next to him. I think if you have a CDM and Donny, it works. Would Donny and McTominay work? Would Donny and Fred work? That's a different question.
No,
But
yeah, exactly. Who would your ideal CDM be? Because mine would be Declan Rice, personally.
I think if we could get anyone, it would be Declan Rice. But I think because he's going to be 100 million, and I think we need a striker, we need a Pogba replacement, we need a CDM. I don't want to spend that much on one position because then we will lack the other two. I'd go for the French guy, and I never pronounce his name right, but Chouamini.
I pronounce it Chouamini. I pronounce it loads of different ways in loads of different times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time I pronounce it, it's wrong, but then someone says it's right. So if I go Chouamini, that's wrong. If I go Chouamini, it's I don't know how it's said, but
I'll go with Chouamini personally, but he looks like a good prospect for the future, and I would personally go with someone like Kessie over Chouamini, or
Kessie would be 3 as well.
Yeah, exactly, and he would be a great signing. I think played very well against us in the Europa League last season.
Yeah.
But Everton 3, Leeds 0. Now, honestly, I've heard a lot of commentators talking about Bielsa, and I'm not sure if you know what it is. Saturday Social is something on Sky Sports on a Saturday morning. And they were discussing Bielsa. Well, they're discussing all Premier League managers, and I heard someone make a comment that Bielsa is a world-class manager. Now, I would not say that. I want to get your thoughts on Bielsa and Leeds, because at some point for me, he should go. I hope he doesn't go because they're not doing so well, and I don't like Leeds. What is your thoughts on Bielsa?
I think he's an all right manager, but I wouldn't say he's world class. I think the Leeds squad isn't that good, to be fair to him. Like you look at that Leeds squad, and to get anywhere above 15th, I think it's decent. But you see a lot of managers that are decent managers, like Claudio Ranieri. He won the league with Leicester, but he's not a world class manager. Do you know what I mean? I think Bielsa's a good manager. I think the Leeds squad isn't particularly good, but I don't think he's anything special.
No, yeah, I completely agree with you. Just an all right manager. Now, Brentford, Crystal Palace, and I've seen some people saying they're worried about Crystal Palace. I've been a massive advocate of Patrick Vieira's sort of rebuild at Crystal Palace. Personally, I really sort of rate it and rate what he's trying to do there and is doing there. However, they've dropped, I think, to 14th or 15th in the league. I think it's 14th. And that is not, it's obviously not ideal at all. Now, what is your thoughts? Do you think he's just going to be sort of have an all right season and then drop off next season and not really be exciting for Palace? Or do you think it's going to carry on to be exciting? I
don't know, because it's quite a young squad, but then obviously players like Gallagher could go back to Chelsea. I was actually, when I predicted the league sort of beginning of the season, I thought Crystal Palace would go down because I didn't really know that much about Vieira. Even though I thought they brought some good signings in, and I think that I think they're 14th at the moment, which isn't too bad. I think they might be all right. It just depends how they invest next summer, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, I agree with you. They had a great summer last summer with Conor Gallagher on loan, Michael Elise, Hudson Edouard, and they've also brought Tyreek Mitchell through, who I really highly rate. With Brentford, now, I wouldn't say that they're terrible, but they've not been on great form again. They went on, I think, a 6-game losing streak a few months ago, and now they're doing the same thing again.
Mm.
Do you think it's just going to be like that? Because surely if you'd have said to Brentford fans at the start of this season, 15th in the Premier League or 16th in the Premier League, they would take that, do you think?
Yeah.
Do you agree with me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
think I thought they'd go down, to be fair, or they might do a Sheffield United where they start for one season. But I can't see them staying up 2 seasons.
No. Oh, okay. I think they could. I think the club is run sort of in a very good way. There's obviously the smallest club in the Premier League, but they're running it in a very good way, in my opinion. Now with Watford, Brighton, Watford 2, Brighton 0. Watford 0, Brighton 2. And Tariq Lamptey getting the assist. Everyone in this chat will know I've been a massive advocate of Tariq Lamptey. He is currently my dream signing for Manchester United. I just absolutely adore the lad, and I've watched him since he's sort of come through at Chelsea and gone to Brighton. Now, I want to get your opinion on Graham Potter because he seems to be doing very well, very, very well. What is your opinion? Do you think he could come to a big club like a United?
Yeah, no, he's doing well. I think Brighton are in 9th or something at the moment. They play good stuff as well. It's not like, you know how they say Leeds play good stuff, but Leeds are sitting right down the bottom. Like Brighton have got stuff to sort of show for it. And that Brighton squad, again, not many particularly big names, but he's got them playing well. And I think he's a manager where you can see him maybe taking that next step up to maybe a top 6 club, or maybe even somewhere like Leicester if, Brendan Rodgers goes. I think he's definitely... I'd like him at Man United, but I feel like he's not what we need. I think we need a proven winner. But I think definitely a good manager. I do rate him highly.
100% I do. And I've read something about Graham Potter. I'm not sure if a lot of people will have read this or not, but when he was being interviewed for the Brighton job, it's reported that he was also interviewing Brighton as well, if that makes sense. He was being interviewed and interviewing Brighton. So it's like, is this club right for me, if that makes sense? Whereas a lot of managers would just take the job, and I respect that a lot, because I feel like, let's say he had an interview at a United or even an Arsenal, for example, he would not just roll over and take the job, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong though, but that's just from what I've read. Now, Norwich 0, City 4, and it's the only way I can get through this is by sort of smiling, so I don't cry, because we're so much levels behind City, and it shows on the pitch every game, every single game. And it's not just the goals that they score as well, it's the performances. It's even when we're performing well, we're levels behind City, in my opinion. And I'm generally quite a positive person about United, but there's only so much you can sort of look at and say, yeah, we'll catch up to them, or we'll do this, or we'll do that. And I know that they're playing on sort of cheat mode with the amount of money they've been given by their owner and certain sponsorships and things like that. But do you think there is a way we can possibly catch up to them realistically? Not this season, but it sort of levels in a few seasons.
I think when Pep goes, that is a little bit of an opportunity for us, because they'll probably replace Pep with someone good. But I think Pep is an extraordinary manager. It's like, I think really, if we want to catch City, because we've actually spent a fair bit of money as well, just City have spent theirs better. We spent 130 million on Maguire and Wan-Bissaka, and I don't think they were terrible signings. They did, but they weren't worth 130 million pounds. I just think, how have we spent our money compared to them? I know they just spent 100 million on Grealish, which again, not a bad signing, but worth way more. I think if we want to catch up to City, we've got to implement a system, but give the manager time, but back the manager, because you can give a manager time, but you've also got to say, okay, I'm going to buy and sell who you want for 3 years. And with Ollie, he got who he wanted in the first season, minus Bruno. He had to wait 6 months for that. He didn't get back in the second season. He got back in the third season. But imagine if Ollie had got back in the second season and he's got that CDM that he wanted. Imagine if we got Haaland instead of Ighalo that January.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I remember signing Ighalo. Yeah, exactly. You're so right, and it was something we were sort of mentioning before, in the sense of it. Last summer has to be every year. The signings, well, Jadon Sancho is shining brightly. Ronaldo has got 8 goals in 19 games, which is not bad, but it's not the levels of his unprecedented levels previously.
Yeah.
But it's got to be that summer every summer, because I'm sure, like obviously you'll have experienced, we'll have all experienced the sort of adrenaline of signing Ronaldo and having that amazing summer when we all thought it wasn't going to be a great summer at some points at time. Now, like you say, it has to be every year. We don't have to sign the Haalands every year, or like the Mbappes, just as a wild example. It can be like TA says, like City are signing Alvarez. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Kaiki, and Ferran Torres. Obviously, Ferran Torres has gone to Barcelona now, but it should be these players where it's sort of little hidden gems, like you say. Tariq Lamptey, for example, from Chelsea, when he was at Chelsea, he costed Brighton £2 million. What hidden gem that is. What's your thoughts? Do you think it should be the biggest sort of names, Haaland, Mbappe, etc., or do you think it should be the small, or even a mix in between?
I think you have to go with a mix, because if you look at a lot of the biggest transfers, Barcelona, Griezmann, Coutinho, Dembele, big upcoming names, didn't work out. Paul Pogba, Grealish, good players, but have they been worth the money? I think when you need a position in dire need, like we need a CDM, then I think, go for Declan Rice if he counts as a big name. He's big money. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think with us maybe looking at a striker, looking at a right back, and looking at a Paul Pogba replacement, I'm more into, let's just go for decent players that maybe some of them are hidden gems, maybe some of them are like Kessie, where we know they're a good player and they're not expensive. I think it's good to have a mix, but I think, if we could find hidden gems, that would be brilliant as well.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. The hidden gems are always the greatest ones as well. You've got your Ole Gunnar Solskjaers, who obviously I know as a manager it didn't work out, but as a player, for me, an absolute legend. And you've got I can't think of any examples off the top of my head right now anymore, but just sort of that type of ilk of player where they are hidden gems and they have done very well. But we'll go on to Leicester 2, West Ham 2 now. What a game this was. And there has to be a point for me where Leicester have to bite the bullet on Rodgers and say he has to go. I know he's just won an FA Cup, and that's very good for Leicester in the sense of they'd never won that trophy before, and the owners sort of loved it and they were celebrating with the players. But there has to be a point where they just bite the bullet and say it's not working out this season. Maybe he should go. Do you agree with that, or do you think they should give him some more time?
It's a tough one, because this is his sort of first bad season, I guess. Like, he won the FA Cup. I mean, he did bottle top 4 twice, but if Leicester had gotten top 4, like, wow, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, to get them in that race, like, can they find a manager that's going to do that? I think maybe Graham Potter. But I think if I was Leicester, I'd almost keep Rodgers till the end of the season and then get rid. I think you're not going to find a replacement right now, I think. And I think he's not doing awful, but I'm at the point where I look at Leicester and they need a refresh, but I think it's worth waiting till the end of the season. Unless they really think they could push for top 6 with a new manager, or they could get who they want, I'd probably say bite the bullet with Rodgers right at the end of the season.
Yeah, I would probably agree with you there. I wouldn't bite the bullet now, like you say, but at the point of the end of the season, if they've finished, let's say, 8th to 12th, just as a wild example, it could be the sense where it's just not worked out and they just part ways, and then they get someone like a Graham Potter, or I'm not sure, maybe even the manager of Nottingham Forest. His name doesn't spring. I can't remember his name, but I think he's a very good manager personally. I can't remember his name. It's something Cooper. I rated him. I think I sort of read about him during the after the final, the EFL, not the player final. Sorry, getting my words mixed up there. And then he's done well in the FA Cup too. So Steve Cooper, that's it, Steve Cooper. So forgot about that. But Jared Bowen, now what a player! I tweeted about him yesterday.
Yeah.
And one of my friends is a Hull fan as well, and she's saying when he was at Hull, he was incredible too. Regret letting him go, and he just seems to be. I'm going to make a bold statement. I'm going to say he's world class, and that's a bold statement to make currently, but I'm going to say it. Do you agree with that, or do you disagree?
I disagree on that. I think he's brilliant on current form, but for someone to be world class, it's got to be a bit longer, a bit more consistent.
Yeah, I can understand that. For me, sort of, obviously, I sort of had a criteria to world class where I say it's top 10 in that position, for example. And And for me, currently in the world, he is probably. I would definitely take him at United, not over Sancho or Rashford personally, but if there ever was a situation where we needed him, I would definitely take him. Do you think he should be getting an England call up?
Definitely. I think, look, I love Marcus Rashford. I'm not one of the people that call him Trashford. I say he needs to be dropped on his current form, but I know there's a player in Rashford. Like, I know, but I just think you look at Rashford's form, you know, Bowen, I think, deserves it. You know, even like Grealish has been okay, but he's not been amazing. Sterling just got a hat trick before that. He wasn't brilliant. Like, no one's really shone. Like, Kane hasn't shone. I just think a new attacker deserves a chance.
Definitely. I think he could be a key part in us winning the World Cup, which I'm going to make a bold claim that we will win the World Cup, which I'm really looking forward to. And I know it's like 10 months away, 9 months away now. But honestly, I think he's a great player. I enjoy watching him. And he also got an assist. And Craig Dawson, who I know he's already an experienced Premier League player, but I'm going to give an example of Craig Dawson in the sense of when we were just talking about hidden gems. West Ham and David Moyes seen something in Craig Dawson, and he'd been relegated with Watford, and it's great to see because he's doing so well despite him. Like if you look at his CV, for example, it's not a great CV for a top Premier League player, and like people give an example of Maguire's CV, and that's not great, and Maguire isn't doing great. So it just shows the difference in sort of, I don't know, in spirit for me, in fighting spirit.
Yeah.
He's got I feel like that West Ham team have got a lot of fighting spirit. Do you think they're still going to challenge us for top 4?
Yeah, the thing is, I don't know whether depends on Europe, I guess, with West Ham, will they tire? I think, you know, they challenged for top 4 sort of last season. I think they're gonna challenge all the way through unless they get a key injury to Declan Rice or something. I think right now, Arsenal, West Ham, they look quite on it. So we need to be on it.
Yeah, we definitely do. And TA says Jarrod Bowen did it the right way, ripped up the Championship, and is currently one of the most in form in the Premier League. I couldn't see Jarrod Bowen at City, though. I hope he really doesn't go to City because he's a player that I look at and I really like Jarrod Bowen in the sense of just admiring a player. And we'll go on to, sorry, my phone's just crashed here. We'll go to Spurs 0, Wolves 2, and we didn't expect this, did we? Even though I feel like it's going under the radar. What a job Bruno, I never know how to pronounce it, Bruno Lage is doing. Yeah, he seems to be an incredible manager, and I'm not trying to take digs at sort of Nuno Espirito here, but I sort of never rated him. I sort of said a long time ago that he's not that manager that I think.
Boring.
Yeah,
well.
definitely very, I would say, some of the worst football in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And Bruno Lage is really getting the best out of that Wolves squad, and I think the dark horse is to finish an Europa League place.
Yeah, now, definitely.
Yeah, 100%. And they've got they just bought Jose Sarr as well, who's doing great. And again, they've got a midfield that we're jealous of. In Dendoncker can play there, but also they've got Neves and Moutinho that can play there. Most teams have got a midfield that we're jealous of. Do you think they're going to get Europa League? What's your thoughts on Wolves this season in general?
Yeah, I actually went to the game yesterday. I watched it.
I hope you had a good time.
I was enjoying it. I was sitting in the Spurs end, but I was like, yeah, Spurs.
Yeah, it's a great result for us. I'd love to go to that stadium as well, that Spurs stadium.
So nice there. That's one of the main reasons I went. I hadn't been to the new stadium. I was like, I might as well go. And Wolves were absolutely incredible in the first half because, you know, Conte ain't a bad manager. Spurs are not a bad side. No. But the way Wolves scored 2 early goals, but in the first half especially, they couldn't really keep the ball, Spurs. It was Wolves were winning it back every attack. Wolves' attacks were sustained a lot better. They moved the ball well. And then in the second half, Wolves were like, you know, just sat back and were like, look, we just need to not concede 2 goals. And I just thought Wolves looked so good. And I think, again, it comes down to that midfield when you've got Neves, just brilliant player, again, like running that show. And I always feel like games are controlled in midfield. And if you could control a midfield, you influence your chance of winning. And he controlled that midfield.
100%. And he scored a goal. I was watching Match of the Day a few weeks ago and he scored a goal. Can't remember who it was against. But I remember saying, I said it to my mum as my mum was sat there, but she doesn't really like football. I said, that's a goal that a United midfield wouldn't score unless it's Bruno Fernandes, which he's not been on the best of form this season. And it just shows the difference in sort of the build-up play and just the general dynamic of the game when you have a strong midfield. Now with Spurs, there's a lot of talk that Antonio Conte will walk, and I don't think he will, personally, because what manager would actually walk from the contract instead of getting compensation? In my opinion, and I know it's not all about money. Exactly. Yeah, 100%. It's not all about money, as we would say, but it is a huge factor in managers not walking away. Now, do you think it's going to get to the point where they just let go of him and sack him, or do you think he'll run down his contract?
The thing with Spurs is, if you sack Conte, where do you go next? Because back to Poch, that's like their best option, you know. And I think, you know, if Conte's not doing brilliant, you got to look at it and go, maybe it's the squad. Like right now, I don't think many Man United fans are crying Rangnick out, because we're like, you know what, I think they were playing better football. We're just not getting the results. And I think a lot of us have admitted that the squad could be doing better this season. You know, a lot of people that, like, I was quite harsh on Ollie towards the end. I was like, I said Ollie has to go. I recognise what Ollie had done, but I was like, he had to go. And I was thinking maybe a new manager would create a drastic difference, because I thought, oh, we've got such a good squad. Why aren't we doing well? The fact that there isn't much change, like if you relate to Ollie, I'm like, it's probably the squad. And I think that is the sort of situation at Spurs. Like,
I agree. I think it's the owners as well, and Daniel Levy, and it's just they just don't invest properly. They do invest, but not properly, and he doesn't really seem like on the documentary, he seemed like a football man, but from the reports, he doesn't seem like a football man at all. Now, like you said, with personally for me, as we're talking about stance on managers, I would personally back every manager to the end, just personally, and sort of even with Solskjaer, towards like when I was walking out of Old Trafford, I said many times I cannot back this anymore. Just basically just so angry, but always sort of held that thing with me where I'd love him to turn it around. I'm sure all of our fans would. I'd love him to turn it around. It just doesn't seem like he will turn it around. Now, like you say, they've had Jose Mourinho, they've had Mauricio Pochettino, they've had Antonio Conte. I don't think it's the managers that's the issue. I think the players are an issue to a certain extent, as you say, but I also think that the owners have to take a massive look at themselves. I feel like in a specific small way, we sort of protested in a correct way against the Super League, which made the owners sort of take notice. I'm not saying that there's any change by any stretch of the imagination, but what I'm saying is it's just a little bit better than Spurs. Now, I think Spurs should maybe the protest could have been bigger. I don't know. I don't want to offend any Spurs fans here, but honestly, it seems like something has to change with the owners rather than sort of the players and the squad and things like that. Because when you've got players like Danny Rose, for example, who he just confronted the club straight out, and there's also a quote of Danny Rose saying he will. Tottenham Hotspur the club have made him want to retire and never like leave football completely after he's retired, if that makes sense, rather than doing any punditry. So it does seem like the issue is sort of the club is quite a bit rotten. But we'll get into a comment here. It's not relevant to this, but I'll read it out because Ian's quite kindly subscribed as well. Hi guys, I'm a Darlington FC fan. We were made bankrupt in 2011, reformed in 2012, demoted 4 leagues. We're currently a fan-owned National League club, National League North club, and we have had 3 promotions to date. I'm happy to hear that. I do know of Darlington because Salford City have played them once and have kept an eye on Salford City. But happy to hear that, and thank you for the subscription, Ian. Now, we'll go to Newcastle 1, Aston Villa 0. Now, my opinion has changed an awful lot on Newcastle over the past week. I think they're going to stay up. Do you think they're going to stay up?
I want them to get relegated, but they're going to stay up. I can feel it.
Yeah, it seems inevitable that they're going to stay up. They've had a great window, and I found out that someone I know knows the lady that's the owner. Someone I know knows a person that's the lady of the that's the lady owner of the. I'm not sure her name. The Newcastle owner. Found that out yesterday, which is actually mad. But honestly, Kieran Trippier, I feel like I regret getting him. I didn't at the time, but I regret getting him because I feel like he would have been a perfect stopgap to Ethan Laird. Despite me liking Lamptey so much, I feel like he would have been a perfect stopgap. What's your thoughts on that?
I like Kieran Trippier, but I would have never wanted him at United because I was like, look, Wan-Bissaka isn't performing, but we have Delo. I think now Delo's been playing quite well under Ralph Rangnick.
Yeah.
I actually have been so impressed with Delo lately, and I've sort of written him off in my head. He's really proved something. And as you said, Ethan Laird doing good in the Championship. I just think right now, if we get offered someone like Lamptey, brilliant. But I think we need a CDM and a striker before right back. And I was very much like, leave the right back.
100%, I agree with you. And they've not even had Bruno. I'm not sure how to pronounce this name. Bruno Guimaraes. He's not made a start yet, and he already looked. He looked good in the first game. They've got 3 wins in 3 as well. Eddie Howe seems to know what he's doing, and I've massively doubted Newcastle over this season. So I'll have to hold my hands up and say I was wrong if they stay up, and it looks like they will stay up. Now with Aston Villa, they had a great window. Obviously, I think this was just a blip in the sort of road, if that's what you would call it. Do you think that it was just a blip in the road, this loss?
Yeah, I watched a little bit of Match of the Day, and I think they're a little bit unlucky. Was it a Watkins goal or something ruled out of VAR?
Yeah, Watkins' goal was ruled out for offside. It was ruled out, and he's not on form either.
I didn't think they were brilliant, but I didn't think they were bad. I think Villa are a good side.
Yeah, Villa are a good side, and there's a lot of sort of debate around Tyrone Mings for Villa and whether he should be captain or whether he should go or not. And I've rated Tyrone Mings over the years, ever since he had that physical battle with Zlatan Ibrahimovic. I'm not sure if you remember, but they both loved that battle, and it was a great watch. But I've rated him. Now, if there are any Villa fans in the comments in watching this video afterwards, I'm not sure if there is right now, get in the comments. I want to hear your opinion on Mings. And we'll get into Burnley 0, Liverpool 1 with Fabinho scoring. Fabinho has now scored 5 in 7, which is
smart.
It's actually mad. He's probably one of the most on-form players in the league. Again, these are just levels above, aren't they? Despite being 6 or 7 points behind City, they're just levels above us, aren't they? What do you think needs to change for them to sort of catch City within the next year or so?
I think the thing is, I almost think in a weird way, Klopp has done a better job than Pep, because you look at the money, like the net spend, you look at the squad depth, and Liverpool, Jota worked out, but when they brought Jota, you're not thinking, wow. Like when City brought Grealish, we were thinking, oh bloody hell, like they're adding Grealish. And Liverpool brought Jota, and Jota wasn't as big a name as Grealish, but Jota's been sort of more successful.
Yeah.
I think Liverpool, they must have some fantastic coaches. They seem to buy the right players, which really annoys me. They don't get many flops, whereas we get loads of flops. They seem to have the right system in place. They just don't have the financial capacity to really compete with City, because they can only spend the big bucks really when they sold Coutinho. Then that's when they brought Van Dijk. They don't have the depth, and it's like, you know what? I actually think Klopp's done just as good a job as Pep. He's won the Champions League. He's won the Premier League.
As much as it hurts to say, I would completely agree with you. He's done a very good job. And again, it's the fighting spirit. You've got to implement that fighting spirit into the team, and they've got that fighting spirit, and it's something that we've just not got or struggled to have anyway. Apart from the fact that we had it last season when we kept coming from behind again and again and again and again. I'm going to ask you about Man United Brighton now. Now, I wasn't sure whether I could go to this game, but it's been confirmed today that I can go to this game, as I've now tested negative for COVID twice, 2 days on a row. So there won't. I do want to let you guys know first. There won't be a watch along for Real Madrid PSG, as there will be at the United game. There will be a watch along on Wednesday, Inter Milan versus Liverpool. What score are you predicting for the Brighton game?
I think there are going to be goals. Like, this is the thing. Brighton will score. We won't keep a clean sheet.
No.
And the thing is, will we take our chances or not? Brighton, they always sort of leave space in behind for us to attack, and we've been playing the way we have. I think it'll be quite a good game. If I was going to be honest, I would say 2-2, but I'd like us to win. So I'm going to go I feel like we could win it 2-1.
I'm going to go with 3-1. Hopefully it's just a nice, comfortable 4-0. We've not had one of them for a long time, have we? But I want to thank you for featuring on this show and for all your help so far with supporting everything. I do want to thank you, Alice, and good luck for everything that you're doing as well.
No worries. Thank you very much for having me on, and I'll have to get
No
you
worries.
on my channel at some point soon.
That would be great. I would love that, as I've already spoken about before. And just to let you guys know, I will be live again at 7 p.m. today. That will be Red Devils Digest, new United news show with Kine, who's often in the chat, and Gavin, who's often in the chat. So remember to tune in at 7 p.m. And you've just had a message here, a chat here. Is this true?
I don't hate De Gea. I like De Gea.
It might be another. It might be another girl.
Taylor. He's Taylor. There's this girl on TikTok that doesn't like De Gea, but.
Oh right, no, because I don't use TikTok personally. I found you out through Twitter. So I don't use TikTok personally, but I spoke to a lot of people when I was saying that you were going to be on the channel, and they've said you've seen you on TikTok. So keep up what you're doing, because you must be reaching a lot of people there. I'll end the stream there, though, guys. Remember to tune in at 7 p.m. It's going to be a good one. Thank you for tuning in.